All righty. So I got you recorded, or I got the recording going, and I see your screen.
Okay,
No.
don't forget to turn off the videos.
Oh yeah, here, let me get a remote control. Go. All righty.
Okay, so this is the job. It's an acre and a half, and it's coming out of this whole huge piece, and it's just a little tiny piece
Uh-huh.
right in this corner. So I was going to use this as a vicinity map and also a map where I could number the adjoiners, adjoining properties, and then create a table listing them
Uh-huh.
because there's no way to really show them on this drawing.
Okay.
So uh, I went here and I think I've experienced this problem before, but I don't remember what your solution was.
Okay.
Uh,
This
so I'm unlocking the display. So where's my inset?
well, let me see. Whoops. Uh, let's see here. So that's not showing. That's showing a geo image, which is probably on that frozen layer. Um, but now you're wanting to see what this here on the left?
Yeah, the yellow's the geo image.
Yeah, that's the aerial. Uh,
Right,
so, but you're wanting this map. All right, so that
right.
should be showing up over here. Now let's see where it is. It's on a layer called a joiner.
Oh, it shouldn't be on a joiner. It should be on location inset.
Yeah, so I was going to say it's probably that it's probably over in that viewport that maybe a joiner is frozen. Yeah, see there it is. So while in this viewport, if I look at my layers here, let's take a look. You'll see that joiners, you see right there,
Yeah,
current
yeah,
view is frozen. That's all in the world it was. Okay, now you may want to thaw that layer in this viewport or not. It's up to you. So, but now you're going to want to obviously bring this up a little, probably something like that.
right.
And let's see if we can figure out what scale we're at here. And that is a 0.007. So that is I don't know. See if something is one, let me see, 0.007 thousandths. Hmm. Which equals, yeah, let's see.
we must not have enough we must not be showing enough decimal points there. I'm coming
Hey,
up with that's a scale of,
well, I mean, we can change that up for a second here if we need to. And then that puts that at 0.073602. But let's see, 1 inch equals 50. I remember how to do this.
I don't know why I have such trouble taking that decimal point and turning it into a scale, but I do.
Yeah, I do too. I have to stop and think about it. And for me, it's because I'm going between inches and feet.
The
Uh,
the only one that's easy for me to do is 2,000. That's 0.1 divided by 0.005.
So that would be one, 1 divided by 2,000, but then it's times 100. Because 1 divided by 2,000 is 0.0005. So, so 1 divided by x equals that. So 1 and 0.073602. That's 135. So that's what, 13,500?
No, it couldn't be.
No. Well, here, let me see. I'm gonna I'm gonna lock it just for a minute, just so I don't mess it up. And I'm going to figure out what this distance is. Let me, from here to here, that's 135 feet, basically 134.28. Now, if I'm in paper space, let's just do this. If I'm in paper space and I draw a line, oops, it'll snap to that, but will remain in paper space. So I'll take that. Let me bring
Well,
that.
that can't be 135 feet. That line is probably a couple thousand feet long. That's not a set there. That's just highlighted on the tax map. So there is no endpoint there.
Oh, I see. All right. Oh, that's right. This is just the image. It's not,
Right.
yeah, okay. All right. So that now is, we move it over to here and let's just put it up here. All right. So that happens to be in paper units, just over an inch long, 1.06. All right. Now, what is that in terms of the property? What is that? Well, we don't know what it is here.
I don't know. I haven't surveyed it. It's part of the perimeter. I
Oh,
mean,
okay.
I could come up with let me see if I can get a rough distance off of the tax map.
Did you ever get that zip file you were having trouble with for your client that came from Allegheny?
I did, but it doesn't do me any good. What they've done is to keep someone from being able to use it. They have taken it thousands of feet away from where it is. The coordinates make no sense. So I've got to call him up and talk to him about it. My client's point of view is that he paid $5,000 for that, and he ought to have something in return for
Oh,
it.
absolutely.
I'm not going to get into that argument with Allegheny. That's a business decision that they need to make.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is that line, so I can measure a distance here. Uh,
One to the left. There you go.
in feet. Two thousand 154 feet.
All right, so we're right at 1 to 2,000.
Yeah, and who's going to argue with it?
Yeah, exactly. So, in fact, if we wanted to see it as 1 to 2,000, let's see, where is your, it's on the other screen, I guess.
No, no, it's not. Here, let me get
Oh, there we go. Oh, it's different logo or
I
different.
just I
Yeah.
just minimized it.
Well, it's a different icon. I was looking for the old blue stripe pyramid, but that's at 24.
Right.
So if we, let's see, if we were to look at this and if we unlocked it, if we did make it, I'm going to first of all copy that. Let's see here. Sorry. Come on. We'll copy it to be able to put it right back. But if we were to call it 0.005, that would be your 2,000, but you lose the image surround.
Right.
Is that 2,000? No, that's 200.
Yeah, it should be 0.0005.
0.0005 is 2,000, but then that makes it, oh, see, we had this 0.007. So that's not,
That doesn't make any sense to me.
yeah, me either. Oh, you know what it is? This is not in at a 1-to-1 scale. See, that's in at this scale right here. That's why. So our, you measured it was just over 2,000. We got an inch. So yeah, calling this inch to 2,000, let's call that good. Let's call that a day and go to the bank.
Okay, so how would I bring that in at a 1-to-1 scale?
Well, yeah, it depends. Because you're talking about when you capture that image, what, from the tax map, you're basically grabbing a screen print. You know, you're getting just a print of that. I think if you go back to your tax map, and when you go to save an image, yeah, you need to escape out of all that. If you're going to yeah, you can escape or do whatever you need to do to quit that.
Yeah, I can't. I don't know what to do to quit
Uh,
that.
let's see, go up to the,
There, that's
yeah,
what I do.
okay, yeah. All right, now, so if you were going to save that as an image, go take me through your steps as to what you do. Yeah, so you're just doing a snipping tool? Okay,
Yeah.
all right, that's all right. You don't have to go through any more than that right now. Because you don't have, let's see, what do we have right here, for instance? if you printed this, uh, yeah, so you could set this like this at so many feet, so DPI. All right, so what we're trying to do, all right, so I'm setting it for, we want to preserve the scale, but we need to be viewing a particular scale. So let's see, we need to, where can we set our scale? Yeah, let's just zoom in. What does it mean to measure? Okay, that's location. See, it says preserve scale. If I'm going to print, let me go and close this up. If I'm going to print, in my settings, I said I want to preserve the map scale, which means, see down here in this lower left corner, that little tiny bar scale?
Yeah.
That's going to be the scale that it's going to produce. So we can't, in this map, apparently I can't set that to be 1 inch equals 2,000 feet.
How about if you zoom in and out, does that change the scale? Yeah,
Yeah,
it does.
it does. So you can set that, but you can't. See, I was hoping to be able to, oh, let me see. If I change that to 2,000, no, see, it won't let me edit that. I can highlight it because it's a piece of text, but that's all I can do.
How about if you just
You can, yeah, what is, let's see, in terms of miles, you're looking for 0.379 or point 0.4, whatever, as a scale, 0.4 miles.
there's
Right
point
there.
four.
Okay, so that is 2,000 feet. And I just put him up here in the middle. And now that, if you go to print from inside of here, not do a screen grab, then that will, and you can tell it basically, you might as well just keep it as a ANSI A. That's like a letter. You can choose, yeah, that letter ANSI A, landscape. And then when you print, you're going to get this PDF that will be at that. So when we insert or XREF the PDF, we bring it in at 1-to-1 scale and it will be at this scale. Okay. Otherwise, when we say map extents, that's where we can zoom in to say this is where we want the size of the map to be. And then when we get it in our drawing, we just simply scale it to match something accordingly. We'll bring it in and we do a 2-point align, we line it up. That's why it's always nice to have, you can do it right over top of your own property boundary. You can just drag the boundary off to the side and bring that raster image in and then do an align. Oh,
The
no, come on.
error.
All right, let's see. Really rather have a PDF, but if not, let's try the old PNG. Map scale feet. don't, you don't see anything asking you for a,
No,
but
that's the way it usually does. It takes forever to print off of the tax map. And
yeah.
sometimes if you're printing, if it's too much area, it won't print.
Ah, okay. That may be what's
But
happening.
let me ask you this question. If I set the scale like this, if I set it at 2,000 feet and then I did a snip, would it be at 2,000 feet when I brought it in?
Maybe. Yeah, let's try that. I bet that's what's going on is that it's got too much on it. So go ahead and do your snip and let's try that way.
Now,
Hang
should I overwrite the one I have?
No, I'd call this a different name. We'll try it and see. Because we can still use the one you got. I can show you how we can scale that. But
Well, what if I just leave it as capture PNG?
that's perfect. That's fine. That's in your Phillips Mickey folder, so that's okay if that's where it
Yeah.
is. Now, before you leave here, that, or if you remember, what was that distance? I mean, go ahead and close that off. But before you leave the tax map, what was that leg again? That long line?
Uh, I wrote it down, but I don't see it. Let me measure it again.
Back up to your measurement. No, that's area. There's your line. There you go.
2,181.
Yeah, 2182 basically. So we'll jot that down. So 2182.
Yeah, last time I measured it, it was 2154.
All right. So let me see here.
Minimize this.
Let me whoop, no, let's go back to that a minute here. Let me try one more shot here. Of course, this is not survey accurate either. So that
No,
was 2144. So let's just call it 2150. That's a good compromise. And now back to th this guy. In fact, we can, if you want, we go ahead and minimize that back down. All right, so now we come over to here, and if we just come off to the side and let's bring in that file. We'll go here to our XREFs and we will um,
I'm gonna go up and do a new.
yeah, it'll be all right. And we're going to bring in image files. And let's just put it right here. Scale of 1, no rotation. Yeah, see that it doesn't. Apparently it brings it in at screen pixel size. So let's see. All right, so here's one thing we can do now. If we know this orientation, I'm gonna back up here a minute. I'm going to draw a line here. Let me just put this on We'll put it there as well, and I'll make it. Uh, All right, so I'm going to match that orientation. So I'm going to just come in here and I'm going to draw this line. I'm going to start right here. Okay. Now I'm going to come up here and I'm going to just sit on this corner where it's got it marked. Just in there somewhere. And I'm going to leave the cursor there. I'm going to take my hand off the mouse. I'm going to type D for distance. And that was 2150, right?
Right.
2150. And now it wants to know the direction method. I'm going to type C for cursor. So it draws that line. Then I'm going to do Q for quit. So it draws that line in the direction of my cursor. And there it is at that orientation and that size. Now I'm going to move it over to here for a sec. And now we're going to come down here and we're going to do an align. And so I'm going to zoom way in tight here. And I'm going to go to edit, align, just a 2D align, and select the entities. Well, that's what I'm going to align. That was that image. I selected it. Now you didn't see it highlight or anything, but it said that it found it here, one inset. Okay, so I hit enter to finish. Pick a point or a point number. So I'm going to zoom in down here and just get this point right in there. Click. And now you see it's asking for first destination point. Pick a point or point number. So I'm going to go out here, go zoom way back out where I was, and I'm going to pick this endpoint. Click. Now it says second source point. Pick a point and point number. So back into the image, and I'm going to come up here and grab this point. And now it says second destination point. So zooming back out here, I'm going to come up here and go click. And now it says you want to scale the object based on those alignment. Yes, I do. Not just rotate, but scale as well. So there now is that scaled up to match that line that's underneath it. And I can actually go ahead and get rid of that line now. But now there's that image. Now it's obviously over top of our drawing and everything. So I'm just going to take it, and without changing the scale, I'm going to move it over here to the side so we get it off of our stuff. Okay. Now that has come in at a scale of, 7752. All right. So that was the size of this. And if you look at the size of this property right here,
Yeah.
you're saying that's out of, say, this corner.
Yeah.
And that looks about right, does it not? All
Yeah.
right, so now back to cover sheet. Let's go back here and unlock it. It is unlocked, okay. And let's double click inside it. We'll zoom out. We'll pan over and we'll get this up looking like what we want to see. Make sure we get the image to fill the frame without leaving a bunch of white space on the side. So that would be about like that. Maybe come up a little. Whoops, that's about it right there. All right, so that's about, so if we go back outside of it, which I did, I now selected it. Whoops. Let me select the viewport. And I see that it's at 0.0003. And if I I'll go ahead and copy that just for reference, but if I say 0.0005, that's your 2000 scale. So that's what 2000 scale looks like. Double click inside it and pan it. See if I can get it and still keep the image in the frame. Looks good. I'll double click outside of it, select the viewport and lock it. All right, so now it is exactly at 1 inch equals 2000 feet. I mean, exactly to the point where we said 2150 was that length. All right. Now, is that enough to show you? Can you label those crossroads and they can find that, or do you need to make
Yeah.
that, say 1 inch equals
No, I think I can do that.
okie doke? So that's what you would do um, when you do that. Now, one of the things, like if you're going to, in fact, you can actually erase this one now. And that was, you can, if you erase it, it's still going to be in the XREF list. But if we go to the XREF list and find that one, that was this one. And we just detach it here. And then that'll go away. So now one of the things you can do, now you're dealing with a small piece of that, but let's say you had, and I'm just going to approximate, something like, you know, the overall parent tract or something or if this was what you were going to show in your map over here or something, what you would do is you would go and select your boundary and just do a copy of that. Right now where it is, it's exactly on coordinates, in your state plane coordinates. And then, but just copy it off to the side somewhere like that. Do your screen grab, bring it in at whatever scale you can even, let's do this one more time with, we'll use the old one. And we'll go back to image files and we'll find, was that the one? Yeah,
Yeah.
so that one. And we open it and right now it's insertion point, we're going to come here and it says scale. Now I'm going to just drag it up like this, just by eyeball and click it and then set and hit enter for the rotation. So it doesn't rotate. It's there at 0. So now that gives me a chance to go back and do the align. And I would choose this align, 2D align, reading the prompt, select entities, align above, select the entities to align. So we select that image. It tells us we have one. We're finished selecting. We hit enter. Now it wants to know a point or a point number, but a line above it says the first source point. So we would get this point right in there and we would show it where the first source point is here. Okay. And then it wants to know the second source point. So we would give it another. Now we could, give it any of these points that you have also in your boundary. So we would just take this guy and we'd come here to this one here. And now it says, so first of all, when it doesn't align, what it's going to do is it's going to pick it up and take it from the first point and take it over to your first destination point. And then it's going to rotate it to match the bearings. But now that it's thinking about doing that, it says, all right, do you want to scale those objects based on those alignment points? And if you said no, then it doesn't scale it. It just rotates it and it moves point 1 to point 1 and rotates it. But if we say yes, it moves it and then it scales it. So it's right over top of that we did. Okay. And then you can take that and get rid of it. Or if you wanted that, you just leave it in there. When you show your vicinity map, you could then, um, have that show in your vicinity map as a heavier line, even though it's not part of the image. It's also here, just lined up in the same space. Now you notice it rotated a little bit here, you see? The edges of the image are turned a little. Because I just did this sort of eyeball looking thing and moved it across, right? So that's what you do is if you have the overall, and that was the problem is that yours was not the overall, it was just a corner, but you wanted to show the overall parent tract. If you
Right.
have the everything that you're mapping, you want to show in the thing, just take the total outside boundary or whatever you want to show as a heavy line over here, copy it over to the side, bring in the screen grab, and do the align. Okay. So I'm gonna grab all three of those things and we'll just erase those. And I'll go back and clear it out of the XREF list as well. And that was that one. All right, so that should then set you up. Okay.
Okay.
And then let's make sure I think I locked it. Yes, it is locked. So there we go. So now that's 1 to 2000. And now remember this annotation scaling, you don't need to set it if you're not trying to print text that's in your model space, just like that boundary used to be that I erased. If you're not needing to have that scale up to match that scaling, you don't need to worry about that annotation scaling. But if you did have labels that you had written and you wanted them to show up and you copied them over here in the same place, that annotation scaling, you just set it to match this same value. Now, if we, is this, all right, so we put in that 0.005. Is that in our list? Do we have a 1 to 2000? I don't, yeah, we don't. So one thing that we could do to make that available to us is our in model space over here on this annotation scaling. Right now it's set to 1 inch equals 50 feet. If I were to right click that and bring the settings up, I could add a 1 to 2000. I'd say a 1 inch equals 2000 feet. Okay. So that's 1 paper inch equals 2000 drawing units. All right. So we just added that and I'm going to put that, I just put it here at the bottom of our little list, just where it shows up. Okay.
Okay.
So then when we're over here and we want to set that, and if we had it unlocked, because it is a standard scale, you see it now shows up and I could just pull that down and choose it. So that's probably not a bad thing to have in our scale list. And again, we can do that by, I'm going to come back and lock this up. You can do that by, and you have to go back to model space to get access to this list here, and you just add it to that. Now, will we be able to set that here? I'm not sure. Let me see something. Select active scales. Yeah, so that we could do that here. There's 1 inch equals 2000 feet. If we turned, oh, it's not letting me set it. Oh, it says support all. So if I uncheck that and if I did that, then that would allow. But if I say support, then it's supposed to be in there already. But I didn't see it the first time. We added it. Yeah, that's just a list that's pre-built. All right, so one thing we can do is, what was the drawing template that this was in?
SHEPP minor subdivision.
Okay, and so if we go to, and I don't think it'll be in here. Yep, right in here. Um, yeah, DWT, and we're looking for SHEPP. Where are our DWTs? Oh, they were interspersed. There we go. All right, so if I go down here now and find it. There's my DWT, SHEPP. Which one?
Minor subdivision.
Minor subdivision. So if I open that, now the only thing I'm going to do is while I'm here, I'm going to right click over here and I'm going to add that to my scale list. So I'm going to say 1 inch equals 2,000 feet, because that's something that we're going to use quite a lot of. So we say 2,000 drawing units, 1 paper unit, we say okay. We'll take it and we'll just move it down here to the bottom of our 1 inch equals list. And we'll say, okay, all right. So now that makes that available. I'm going to say save. It's now saved that file. Close it. And so now if I do a new file, and if I browse to it, there it is. Now the other one that we had was what, SHEPP template. We didn't add it to that one, but if we're here in this one and we say this and we I'm just going to exit out just to show you that it's now available. So now when I choose set, right there it is. Okay. So then when we go over to our cover sheet, we can come up here, we can select this viewport, make sure it's unlocked. And under standard scale this time, instead of putting in those numbers, we can scroll down here and find the, did I just pass it? No, that's
No.
one. Now, why it doesn't, I guess it sorts it differently over here, but anyway. So once we've set it to that, now it is set to that scale. So if I look at that, my viewport, there is that standard scale. And again, if I needed to make text show up correctly, 1/10 of an inch or 8/100ths of an inch, I would match that to set my annotation scaling. Same thing with line styles and all that kind of stuff that would match.
Right.
But if you're only bringing in an image and you're writing over top of it in paper space, there's no need to worry about that annotation scaling. Okay. And then you would lock that back once you set that. Okay, but no, you're not always going to be at 1 inch equals 2,000 feet. Sometimes you'll be at 1,000. So whatever you wanted to set, you could. And if you knew that it was going to be somewhere close around that, instead of necessarily trying to find it whatever the ratio is, just go back to your model tab, right click here, add it, and then you'll be able to pick it from that list of standard scales. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to close that without saving. And that shows you that it's now in the drawing template from now on. Okay, let's see, back to here. All right, so there we go. That's exactly 1 inch equals 2,000 feet. It gives you enough to put your adjoiners. You'll come in here and now if you're going to show like your property sitting in here as a portion of it,
It's going to be tough to do because it's so small.
yeah, that's what, so one thing you can do is you can come over here and is it this red one?
Yes.
All right, so there's that. I'm gonna copy that. I'm not I'm not sure that it's gonna work for us, but see, it would be, and I don't know where it is in here. And sometimes you put it in here, it's not gonna line up orientation wise, but you can at least approximate it if that's what you're wanting to do.
Yeah.
So,
It's down here a little bit.
okay, I'll let you move it.
It's right about. there.
All right. And what I would suggest is when you make that copy, I would put that, I would select that, and it has a line type of by layer, and it's going to be that boundary line type.
Yeah,
And the scaling may be off. I would just go ahead for this particular thing, and I would pull this down and choose continuous. Just make it a solid line.
right.
And it's just on the copy. And then when you're over here, you see it's going to show up like that. And you could hatch that if you wanted, or put an arrow to it, or however you, or just leave it off. It's entirely up to you however you want to show that.
Okay, very good.
All right. So that should get you going on that. Anything else?
No, that's it.
All righty. Well, I will bid you adieu till the next to go. And oh, let's see. Let me make sure I did have. Yep, I was recording.